what do you make of the second round? Is it holding up the same way as the first round? I've seen some discussion about that so far.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of it's not as exciting as the first round, and I feel like people are surprised by that. But I've always felt it was this way. Come the second round, I always felt things died down a little bit just because of how much each team was killing each other in the first round. Like it's the playoffs, and we're all excited to be here, and we're gonna make this a series. And now everybody's kind of limping into the second round, and got lots of bumps and bruises, and just doing everything they can to stay alive. And you tend to see maybe a little bit more sluggishness at this time of year just because everyone's exhausted. Not that they're not, playing their asses off out there. Everyone's just tired. I'm seeing it now with the Devils. They're getting their asses kicked by the Hurricanes, which we could talk about that a little bit too if you want, and how that, maybe the parallels between this series and the Islander series.
Well, we
Um,
can pause on that for a second. Should we feel as bad as we did a week ago after now watching the Devils? Because the
yeah,
Devils were seen as a very strong team. I think they had their deficiencies on the back end,
yeah.
even with how they were able to handle the Rangers in the first round. It wasn't always very pretty. They, um, Akira Schmid,
Schmid.
Schmid the kid. All right, I figured that's what it was. Um, he had, I think he let in 2 goals in 3 games. That wasn't sustainable, right? And they were scoring 4 goals a game, 5-1, 4-0, whatever the final tallies were the last few games there. But Carolina might actually be what, if you combine the Devils and the Islanders together,
Yeah.
and added a really good coach and not to say anything against Lindy Ruff, maybe a little against Lane Lambert, but yeah, the Carolina Hurricanes are what you would get if you had Rob Brindamore combine the Devils roster and the Islanders roster, the best of both worlds.
Yeah, they have the speed, and they have the structure, that the Islanders have on the forecheck. So they're really, really hard to play against. And I think a lot of us slept on the Hurricanes coming into the second round, even coming into the playoffs in general, just because of,
Somehow.
how much, yeah, somehow because of how much they were missing. I mean, Tervel Teravainen broke his hand. Max Pacioretty never played for them this season. Andrei Svechnikov was out. So there was just so much, and the goalie situation there too is just like who's going to play every night, who's hurt, who's not hurt, who's
And,
sick.
and, and
Like
they're a good example.
Frederick Anderson was sick at some point against the Islanders, and then suddenly Antti Ranta is sick at some point against the Devils, and it's like, well, are they really sick? Because a couple days later, Frederick Anderson was like sick and then upgraded to injured, and now Antti Ranta is sick, and it's like, is
And
he
he hasn't
injured?
won shit in the playoffs, Anderson.
Right. So there's just so much question around this team, yet they stick to the structure, and it's just working for them. I mean, there's some unsung heroes there too. Like Jordan Stahl is having an excellent series against the Devils, and not, you're not going to look at his statistics and be like, wow, he's amazing, but he's like shutting the Jack Hughes line down. And the question at the top was, should we feel as bad about the Islanders losing? I say look at the series scores, right? Every time the Devils lose, they're getting blown out like 5-1, 6-1. It wasn't like that for the
Even in their
Islanders.
victories, 8-4. I
Right,
get you scored 8 goals, but
right.
you still let in 4. And was that the game with 3 shorthanded goals?
Yes. So 3 shorthanded goals against. So the thing is, you look at what happened with the Islanders. I think that they played a closer series. Yes, it has a lot to do with the goaltending. The Devils have a clear goaltending problem, in my opinion. Um, a lot of Vanacek's. Look, he had 33 wins this year. He had like a 2.4 goals against and like a 918 save percentage, which are good numbers.
Well,
I
that
I just think a lot of that was masked by how good the Devils were in front of him.
I think a couple things. The Carolina Hurricanes are proving the age-old saying where good teams find a way, right? A lot of
Yeah, that too.
injuries, whatever.
Sure.
Good teams find a way, and they're a good team, and they're finding a way. They're having secondary guys step up and play, and even if some guys aren't scoring, they're figuring out a way to contribute. And I think the other one is goaltender can steal you a series. And the Devils' goaltending stole them exactly a series, precisely one series. So now it's a different one. And now the whole rest of your team needs to play up to that. Not to say that they didn't against the Rangers, right? They really figured it out there, right? They were down 2-0 and then rattled off 4 in a row. Or no, it took until game 7. So they still figured it out, right? They still won 4 or 5 or whatever the final tally was there. So yeah, goaltender stole them one series and they're not able to do it right now. And I think the Rangers, I don't think that this is much on the Devils' goaltending. Give them some credit, but the Rangers were cold. Their top players were ice cold in that series. I think Kane did have at least a power play goal. That may have been his only goal of the series. Panarin was cold. Kane, Tarasenko, Kreider. I don't think that roster really stepped up. I mean, from the back end, a guy like, and this is to say after game 2, right? Because the Rangers won the first 2 games, so they figured it out somehow. But oh man, what's his name? His number's like 70, 79. Gandre Miller. You know, you think he'd contribute. This is a perfect opportunity for him to have stepped up in that series, and maybe he did, but that next level, where you're helping to actively win the series, not just like scoring a random goal. Looking at you, Bo Horvat. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, Carolina's just figuring it out, and that's what
Yeah,
good
and
teams do.
yeah, exactly. That's what good, and well coached teams and stuff like that too. So,
I mean,
um,
look at the Islanders. Good coach
yeah,
team, well coached teams, eventually figure it out, and Carolina's a little bit of both.
well said. And it just makes you. It should make you appreciate Ilya Sorokin that much more. If it's not for that guy, Carolina steamrolls the Islanders probably in 4 games. It's not even close. So you really have to. And Sorokin wasn't even his best, you know, but you still have to take a look at what they're doing to the Devils, who are puck possession monsters. Like that's there's no question. They're one of the best puck management, puck possession, puck pressuring teams in the NHL, and they're getting manhandled. And the reason why it looked better for the Islanders than it does for the Devils right now is Ilya Sorokin. So
Yeah,
that's really it.
it's a bit of the Iceland versus the Mighty Ducks. For those familiar with the Mighty Duck series, I picture what's his face on the bench saying they're bigger, they're stronger, they have more facial hair. And that's what's happening to the Devils, right? They're facing a Carolina team that's kind of they're there to get over their own hump. If honestly, they're probably the story
Yeah.
this year, right? Because they're really the only team left with this really long history of being there a bunch and having this kind of demon to get over and this big hump to get on the second or the third round. And the Blues did it, the Capitals did it, the Lightning finally did it a couple years in a row, then the Avalanche did it. So Carolina's pretty primed to be that next team
Yeah.
if they are going to be one. Um, what's the other series in the East? Oh, Florida. That's a good series. Florida. If it
That's
winds up
going
being
on right now.
Florida, Toronto. Which oh my god, what just an embarrassing. I'm here for the comedy, right? I think I'm here for the chaos, but I'm also here for the comedy. The Rangers
Yeah.
losing, as an Islander fan, is always just delicious. But
Yeah.
knowing that they put all this extra effort in, they're going into like cap hell this summer. Um, Speaking to friends of mine that are Ranger fans, I'm just like, go ahead, rag on me right now. Go ahead. I know the Islanders are bad. Like you don't
Yeah.
need to tell me that. I want you to talk about the Rangers being bad. Um, but Toronto as well, finally getting over that first round hump and then just getting swept in the first round and the second round. Um, I'm here for the comedy. I feel bad, but I don't really care all that much. It goes away pretty quickly. It's hilarious. Um, I'm here for the meltdowns
Well,
and
I'm
all
I'm
that. But
here
Florida,
for
Carolina would be a great series.
I'm here for in regards to the Florida series with Toronto, and for the rest of the playoffs. You know, I'm here for the team of destiny. Like this Florida team is that.
Well, that's what I'm
And
saying. Their roadblock is, I mean, it looks like anyway, it's going to be Carolina,
yeah.
and that would be a clash of two teams from completely different ends of the conference, pretty much destined to go to the cup. To your point,
Yeah, I think so. And if I didn't have a favorite player before the playoffs, I do now. Matthew Kachuk has earned the title of my favorite player in the NHL right now. Um, I he's not the most skilled guy in the league. He's not he's not the playmaker. He's a great goal scorer, but like he's not a sniper. Like he just scores those dirty garbage goals. He's all around everything you want in a hockey player. And in my opinion, after Connor McDavid, and I guess I'll say Leon Draisaitl, he's the best player in the NHL. Third,
oh,
I guess
like
third best player.
as an all around player, this
Yeah,
is like the argument Wayne Gretzky versus Mark Messier or something,
yeah,
right? Mark Messier was more of a Gordie Howe type, and
right.
then Gretzky was on a completely different level, even as Lemieux, right?
Yeah,
There's a Mark Messier type. There's a that power forward that can kind of do everything. Brendan Shanahan, Stevie Y. Those, I mean, I don't think
the
Stevie
holes.
fought. Yeah, I don't think Hull fought all that much. I'm talking about like real tough players that could also score a ton of goals.
Jeremy
Um,
Roenick.
and I think he was more of a Marchand. This is a fun game though. Really digging back into the in the like 80s and 90s players, going like firing on through the Rolodex in my brain. The little, what are they? The little minions are going around trying to find the folder in my brain of like, what player is that? Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's just a very unique thing, and I keep wanting to say Keith Kachuk, uh, Matthew Kachuk, because there's even another one, and there's probably even another one coming.
Brady.
Brady, right? And he's no slouch
Oh,
either. But
he's
Matthew,
looking like carbon copy. Like he's playing on a, it's the trajectory is so similar. Like Matthew Kachuk was playing at a pretty decently high level, not what he's playing at this outrageous level he's playing now, but he was playing at a decently high level in Calgary when they were on their upswing. And Ottawa's kind of on that upswing right now, and Brady Kachuk just had an incredible season for them quietly too, because you didn't hear too much about them since they weren't in the postseason race. But he scored
right?
like 30 goals. I think he had like 70 points. So, and he's not afraid to mix it up, the way Kachuk is, and not afraid to get in the corners and the dirty areas, and battle in front of the net. And there's a reason why he's the captain. There's a reason why they're saying, even though Alexander Barkov is the captain of the Panthers, that Matthew Kachuk is the leader of that team.
It's
So,
actually Keith Kachuk because he was responsible for getting that
oh
team
yeah,
in the playoffs.
that's true.
Call, calling them out. I mean, in so many words, I'm
Soft.
paraphrasing. I was gonna say that was the word I believe he used, was that he
Yes.
called the team soft and very publicly. It wasn't,
Yeah.
this was caught somewhere and the media picked it up. Like, I'm pretty sure he just said it
Yeah.
to the
No,
media,
he
which
did.
to a reporter. So yeah, that's wild. He's the owner, coach, and captain and GM of that team at this point. Keith Kachuk.
Yeah,
He completely owns that team.
he does, and his son is, I guess, the general, if you will. So,
Yeah, I don't, first
so
lieutenant, whatever the equivalent is. Someone in the service will correct us on how all of that works.
yeah,
But
all of
yeah,
this
he's
a
amazing.
long-winded way to say the second round has not been as exciting as the first round, and we should, as Islander fans, not feel as bad about what the Hurricanes did to the Islanders, because look what they're doing to the Devils, who were third in the NHL this season. By the way, the Hurricanes were second, but you know, look, that team is just they're firing on all cylinders, is what it is, but